The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hey, welcome to another episode of For the Republic. We are your hosts, Nico and Brittany Fideli.
I'm Brittany. For
Yes.
those of you who haven't been here before,
Yeah, that's Brittany.
I identified as the birthing person.
Yep. Thank God, because I don't know if I can go through that.
It'd be a little difficult for you, I think.
I kind of have the stomach for it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on it. I'm getting back on some good eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some good dinners this week.
Yeah, we did.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Dash diet.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in the kitchen. Not a place I particularly enjoy being, but it's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Good
think
stuff.
The meals that you made, I was a little worried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little concerned it would be like rabbit food, but we've had some wholesome meals.
You've been really opening your palate, though. You've had some squash, some
Yeah.
zucchini, some mushrooms.
I've had the zucchini. The zucchini like in the meal is okay,
Yeah.
but like the zucchini, like the sausage with the zucchini like subs.
I made zucchini boats.
Yeah, zucchini boats. Yeah,
With sausage.
I just took all the sausage off the boat.
He did. He cheated.
Yeah.
It was a little ridiculous. I did think that the zucchini was like a little. I think next time we'll cook the zucchini a little longer because I would have
Yeah.
liked it to be just a little bit softer.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that was definitely part of it. It was
Yeah.
very. It wasn't like raw, but it like seemed like it was a little bit
It was
too
crisp.
crunchy. Yeah,
it
crisp.
was
Yeah.
crisp, and it was a little too much for me, I think.
So
Yeah. So happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
It's your first Father's Day. How
it
you
is
feeling?
my first Father's Day.
Yeah. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I
Yeah.
got a new golf bag, so I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah. When did you get your new golf bag?
Like a month ago. Well, it's because my old one broke.
Yeah.
So
And then he says, Adelaide, can I have my Father's Day gift
Yeah.
early? And then he says, she said yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, she didn't say yes though.
she did. I
but
felt
he
it.
still got it anyway.
Yep.
And some golf shoes, right?
Yep. I got some golf shoes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Those
How are they
those
working out for you?
Those are nice.
Were they Pumas? Is that what they were?
Yes, they
Pumas.
are.
I love
Pumas.
Puma shoes. They're nice.
Yeah.
They're
And
pretty usually.
and as nice as the brand is, they weren't really that expensive.
No.
They were decently priced.
Yeah. Dick's Sporting Goods, everybody.
Yeah.
Be
So-
there or be square.
It's a wreck outside the wreck.
Wreck outside the wreck. Yeah, so happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there.
Yeah.
You should just know how much you're loved and appreciated. Preached today at church and did some talking about fathers, and
Yeah.
was
And
really excited to just make a ploy to our fathers to step up and start being the heads of their households and take charge and put their wives in their places. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I didn't
yep.
say it like that.
back in the
But
kitchen
yeah,
where they belong.
I think it's really important to emphasize how awesome our dads are, how awesome our fathers are, how important they are to the nuclear family, and how
Nuclear.
the breakdown of that family has really had such a big effect on society. And I think it shows
Yep.
us how important our fathers are. And I want to encourage all of you dads out there. You make a difference. You are important. You are loved. You are recognized, not just today, but every day. And I just want to let you know that your masculinity is not toxic. We love it here on For the Republic, and we love you. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Yeah.
And those who are tuning in, we have a special episode today.
Oh, we should have like a cool sound effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're new, like, comment, subscribe, click on the bell icon to be notified when we have a new episode every Sunday night. Yeah, so we have a little bit of a special episode today. We have an exclusive interview with Detective
Exclusive.
Perry Golden, who is running for our county sheriff for our local county. And I think it went pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a good interview.
Yeah, I know we have some viewers from around the world here, so this might not necessarily pertain to your area, but I think it's some really good information that you can glean from no matter where you're from, and it gives you some good ideas what to look for in your local candidates if you're not a local voter here in Jefferson County.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we talked about a little bit about our local area, but we also talked about national issues and how that applies to the position that he is running for, and basically got his viewpoint on some things. I think it was a very well-rounded conversation. I think anybody, even if you're not from Jefferson County or you can't vote for Jefferson County stuff, I think you would definitely get something out of it. It was a productive conversation, I think. So
Yeah. So we just want to dive right into that.
yeah, without further ado, we'll let you guys indulge in the exclusive interview with Detective Perry Golden. All right. Thank you guys for joining us on an exclusive interview with Detective Perry Golden. Detective Perry, thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing a little bit about yourself and what you're going to be doing. Why don't you give us a brief personal, professional history, some relevant skills? What are you running for?
Well, first off, Nico, thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here. I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Jefferson County. I'm a detective with the Sheriff's Office. I'm currently employed full-time with the Sheriff's Office now, and I've been there for a little over 20 years. Prior to my career in law enforcement, I actually spent 10 years in a private industry in Watertown, New York, and in that time, I developed many business management skills. I had an opportunity to be involved in many aspects of this particular industry. I like to mention that to people because the Sheriff's Office, most people don't realize it, but we have 150 employees, give or take, at any given time, and a $16 million budget that the Sheriff is responsible for managing. So I think the business background that I learned before law enforcement will aid me greatly in that position. While I've been with the Sheriff's Office, I spent 3 years as a uniformed deputy patrolling the roads of Jefferson County. In 2004, I was promoted to detective, and I had a passion for drug enforcement. I could see the problems that drugs were causing in our communities, and I wanted to be more involved in that. So
Great.
I was assigned to the Metro Jeff Drug Task Force, and I've been there for the past 17 years.
Awesome. That's great. So before we move on to the next question, what is that business history that you refer to? Because I think that is a very important to mention. What did you do when you were doing sales?
Well, I was originally hired to work in their warehouse and manage their industry.
Mm-hmm.
It was a company that manufactured ski lifts in the ski industry. And I worked my way into a sales position. I was also working closely with the accounting department. I really helped in all aspects of the business. So the accounting experience especially, I was responsible for calculating costs of the products and maintaining make sure we were maintaining a good profit margin in the business.
Wow.
When I left the company, I was working directly for the president of the company. I was managing over 400 sales accounts and helping in other aspects of the company as well.
That's great. Wow, that's awesome. So you definitely have some budgeting history and that business history. I think we need more of that in the political field. We see a lot of politicians who are granted a lot of things and a lot of tasks and a lot of, I guess, a lot of handling money, and they don't have that business aspect. They don't have that business mindset. They're kind of always thinking about policy and not really what is realistic. So I think that's a great skill to have. What inspired you to run for the political office position of county sheriff?
Well, it's been in the back of my mind for probably at least 8 or 10 years. In fact, I've had conversations through the years with other members of law enforcement trying to kind of push them into the position, and people started looking at me saying, no, you should do it. Actually, the gentleman that I have tapped to be my undersheriff if elected, he probably had as much influence on me running as anybody. He really inspired me. We became friends during his campaign, and didn't work out quite the way he wanted. But when Sheriff O'Neill decided to retire, we were in conversation, and I thought about it long and hard, but it's something that I really feel very strongly about. I enjoy serving the community, and I would like to serve at a higher level.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So you've been thinking about this for quite some time. So,
Yes, I have.
wow. So taking account the many factors such as the pandemic, gun control from Albany, and the uptick in violence, the current wait time for a pistol permit in Jefferson County is about 12 months. Do you have any plans to expedite this process to have a consistent, reasonable time frame while maintaining the proper screening procedures?
Well, certainly maintaining the proper screening procedures is most important.
Hmm.
I won't say that I have a ironclad plan, but I do have some ideas on potentially how to streamline the process. But first and foremost, when elected, I'm going to want to spend a little bit of time and actually do a time study on the process. I know there's an ebb and flow to the pistol permit process because of our staffing situation. We sometimes have a little extra manpower to put at it in certain times of the year. So the weight kind of rises and falls. I have spoken to fellow detectives. I'm told that the current sheriff has made some inroads and that the time has been reduced from that 12-month period already.
Right.
So I don't want to make any bold promises or predictions, but I do have a couple of different ideas on how we can streamline it even more. But the first thing I want to do is just take some time. I'm a very numbers-oriented person.
Yeah.
I'll want to look at data for 4 or 5 years, compile it, and take it from there.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's a good level-headed way to tackle this, because we've seen unprecedented times, right? We see the things that are coming down the pike from our current federal administration to our current administration in Albany. Really, people are trying to get their hands on these permits while they can before something else happens.
Absolutely.
Just a quick follow-up question. Yeah, go ahead. Actually,
Can I add briefly that I don't want to misguide people. I'm a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And I will do everything in my power to reduce that time frame, but I want to be careful doing it.
Right. No, I think it's very smart to make sure that we have, because I mean, as I'm pro Second Amendment just as much as any conservative, and many people who watch this show know where I stand on that. But I do think it's important that we do have a proper screening process when it comes to concealed carry. So I appreciate you having that kind of level-headed thinking, but still also being pro-Second Amendment. So moving on to the next topic, as a detective on the Drug Task Force for Jefferson County, you understand more than anyone the substance abuse that we face in this county, specifically dealing with heroin and fentanyl. If elected, how do you plan to use the position as sheriff to address this issue?
Well, I have given this a lot of thought, and I see 3 different areas of concern for me. One is education. We can't arrest our way out of the problem. And certainly with the changes in bail reform, it's making drug enforcement even more difficult. But I have a small program that I've taken around to various schools and civic organizations. Basically, anytime anybody calls me and like me to put a little program on it, I do that. So one of my goals is to expand our educational initiatives with our community partners and try to make people more aware of what's going on in the drug world and give people at least enough information so they can recognize a problem before it gets to critical mass.
Yeah.
Number 2, the amount of drugs that are flowing through our county and into our county is growing exponentially. And I can say that very confidently based on what I see at the ground level working on the street undercover. I would like to have enhanced interdiction training for our deputies. And I think I could employ focused details coordinating with the task force and other agencies to maximize our effect. One of the things that I've enjoyed throughout my career is the teamwork. As part of a drug task force, we're not just one agency. We work under the auspices of the DA's office, but we are 2 agencies, Jefferson County and City of Watertown, working together in cooperation with other state and federal agencies. So that cooperation makes us much more effective than just a standalone agency, and I'll employ that spirit of cooperation as the sheriff.
Good. Awesome. So yeah, a a lot of stuff to unpack there. Just real quickly, you mentioned the resources that you have. How would those resources, like you said, with other agencies and with federal agencies, how do you think specifically you would be able to implement those resources as the sheriff of Jefferson County?
Well, with regards to the drug task force, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
We're part of the equation, but the task force is overseen and managed by the district attorney's office. So I
Right.
don't want to speak for the district attorney, other than to say that we would like to, under my leadership, I would certainly want to play a big part of that team approach to solving the drug problem.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
I think the experience that I bring as a narcotics detective with 17 years of experience would enhance that approach.
Right. So your goal would be to kind of like further strengthen that relationship, basically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So along the same topic with the drug problem that we have in our county, one of your opponents has expressed that he wants to add DARE officers to our schools. He ensures that it would be an effective way to discourage future generations from living a lifestyle of substance abuse. What are your thoughts about this position, and do you have your own plans to implement such a program?
Well, I have done some research, and I have questions and concerns about the DARE program and how effective it is. As I said earlier, I'm all about education and would certainly like to expand some educational initiatives. I've looked at a couple different programs. I'm not well informed enough to make a decision now, but if elected, I certainly would look for a program similar to DARE, maybe something with a slightly different model that's a little more effective. And speaking of DARE, I would like to see at least one school resource officer added to our staff, if at all possible.
Okay.
I think not only the drug problem, but the violence that we see occurring in the schools around
Yeah.
the country. I think it's so important to have a relationship between the sheriff's office and the individual schools. We had an SRO program years ago. It kind of fell to the wayside for budget reasons, and I would like to reemploy that. It would give an opportunity for one officer to be assigned to a position where he's in one school every day, kind of rotating around the county, but making contact with the kids and the staff, and hopefully enhancing that relationship between the schools and the sheriff's office.
Gotcha. So that program that you mentioned, that would basically have like one police officer kind of be on patrol throughout the whole like Jefferson County schools. Is that right?
To start with, yes.
Okay.
And that's what we did years ago is we had a school resource officer, and he would also do the DARE program in the schools as required.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, staffing being what it is, I certainly wouldn't make any promises to have anything any larger than that at this time.
Right.
But I do think the school resource officer would be an added benefit to, and certainly could help with that drug education within the schools.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And like, there's only so much that you can do, right, with budget and with personnel that you have available to you. But having at least one that rotates is definitely a step in the right direction. I feel like that should be something that happens everywhere throughout this country. That there should be police presence in every single school, especially high schools. I think that it's. I mean, come from a city school district, and in middle school we always had a police presence, just because of the things that went on in that school. But it definitely made you aware, and it definitely made things come to life, because a lot of times, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but a lot of times young kids, especially like middle school, high school, they think they live in this fantasy land, and that real world consequences don't affect that, or don't apply to them, and they start acting out. But having like this real, actual, tangible authority present, I definitely can think would be a deterrent and also a role model, if you will. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. The sooner we can build positive relationships with members of the community, the bigger the benefits will be.
Yep.
Some of these kids come from very tough homes. Maybe they don't have the best parental situations. And it's nice to have, as you so well put it, a role model to look up to.
Yeah. Great. So Along the lines you mentioned briefly about violence in our schools, and that leads to our next topic. With so much media attention on mass shootings, specifically in schools, it has sparked debate from all sides of the political spectrum. Some are advocating for tighter gun laws. Even our own governor has already taken legislative action. One position in particular doesn't focus on restricting guns, but in fact suggests the opposite. States like Ohio are making it easier for teachers and staff to carry a concealed firearm in school. Many believe that allowing educators and staff to carry on school grounds will make schools less likely a target for mass shootings. With over 26 years of law enforcement experience, what do you think is the best way to keep kids safe and prevent our Jefferson County schools from being the target of such a heinous act?
Well, I think a good cooperative effort and a good relationship between the sheriff's office and the school districts is a step in the right direction. I think some of the safety and security concepts probably have to be developed by the individual school systems. But as a sheriff of Jefferson County, I would love to be a part of that discussion and work with the schools and try to find a plan that fits their needs.
Yeah. Could you I don't mean to cut you off, but I just had this train of thought. Could you, and I'm not totally familiar on what powers you would have in your position, but could you implement something that the schools in the county would have to do? Like they would have to do this drill, or they would have to make sure that these doors are locked at this time, or something like that, where it would be something that's an umbrella that would cover the schools in the county?
I don't believe I would have the authority to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. It's something I would look into. But rather than try to force the issue again,
Yeah.
I'd rather work with the school districts
Right.
and try to come up with some common sense solutions
Yeah.
that helps keep our kids safe. We already have some safety protocols in place, some things that the sheriff's office is doing in conjunction with the schools, and I'd like to expand that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. I definitely think that there's terrible lessons that we have learned from mass shootings, and the fact that somebody could walk into a school in Uvalde, Texas, and be able to do that without much restriction or without much resistance, I think definitely is a wake-up call. At least it should be a wake-up call for us to take more measures to have our schools secure. Would you consider, while requiring the proper training, advocate for the allowance of teachers and staff to carry firearms in school?
I'm not sure that I would advocate for it, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay.
I think historically, if you look at the data nationwide, most mass shootings occur in places where guns aren't allowed to be carried.
Right.
I believe most shooters are probably looking for soft targets.
Yep.
And I think that the unknown of what may be inside might give somebody pause to reconsider their action.
Yep, I absolutely 100% agree with you. We've said that many times on this show that mass shooters specifically target soft targets. That's why you don't see this kind of thing happening in airports or happening to our politicians. One of the things I saw going around on social media in the conservative kind of way of thinking is why don't we start protecting our kids like we protect our politicians, people with guns? And I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree with this 100%. So anything that we can do to increase a police presence or increase the ability to allow teachers to carry, I think is a good step in the right direction.
And I think just to make one additional comment, not to be too political, but there's kind of two factions in our country. There's the people that believe in guns and people that don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that most conservative people like myself, we believe in the right to bear arms and protect yourself. It's not that we're trying to force guns into everybody's hands.
Right.
Guns aren't for everybody. We understand that. I don't necessarily think everybody has to have a gun. And if you don't like them, God bless. That's fine. But the people that want to carry them and protect their friends, their neighbors, they should be allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we move on to the last couple of questions here, you talk about the right to self-defense. How do you feel about the, I guess, it seems like it's a common sense practice to believe as an American that everybody has the right to self-defense, but it seems like that's been coming under fire, and we see countries like Canada who are outright just banning firearms. Do you think that this country is in danger of heading in that direction because of the rhetoric that we're seeing from some political avenues?
I'm afraid that we're already headed in that direction.
Yeah.
So I think it's incumbent upon the citizens to pay attention to what's going on and get involved in your local government.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to conduct this interview with you is because there are still, even though New York is predominantly left-leaning, there are still conservative thinkers out there, especially with our county and our representatives tending to be more on the conservative side. There are still those who are level-headed. There are still those who want to follow procedures and want to be safe and still have that conservative mindset. So I think you're right along with that if you would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. So if elected as county sheriff, what do you hope to accomplish?
Well, a few things. As we said earlier, I would certainly like to focus on the drug problem, and I believe I have the skills and the background to do that. Also, these are crazy times, and it's hard to get people to take on the role of a police officer. It's getting harder and harder to recruit people.
Yeah.
And once you have them, it's even harder to get them to stay for their whole career. And the same applies for corrections officers in our jail. I would very much like to focus on our recruitment and retention policies and see if we can do something to keep our employees here longer. You know, if we hire a police officer or a corrections officer, we take nearly a year to train them.
Yeah.
And if 3 years down the road they decide they're going to go to another agency or just leave and go to another field altogether, that is a burden on the taxpayers.
Right,
because
right,
we've
yeah.
invested a lot of money in these people. So recruitment and retention are two things that I'd like to focus on specifically. Within our correctional facility itself, it seems to be very well run by and large. One of the biggest issues I see is medical staff. I don't necessarily think we need more personnel, but we need more hours. We need better coverage. Every time an inmate is sick and has to be transported to the hospital to see a doctor, and these guys will oftentimes play the game. I mean, sometimes somebody legitimately needs help. Sometimes somebody just wants to go for a ride.
Yeah. I imagine that
Sometimes
takes many resources as well to do that constant transport.
It does. If we have to take somebody unexpectedly to see a doctor, if we don't have staff on hand, 2 officers have to transport that individual, and they have to remain with that individual for the duration, whether it's a day, a week, or a month.
Wow.
That short staffs the facility, and it puts a security risk on the general public every time we take somebody out that's in custody. So, I wouldn't say it's a huge problem, but it's one of the bigger problems that I see, and I'd like to focus some attention on that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you talk about recruitment and retention, and I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. I actually thought about law enforcement many times, and one of the things that I wanted to do was serve in my local community, but then move up eventually to state. So you're talking about retaining those who are interested in being police officers, and like that's one of the mindsets that I had was that I can start out local and then move up. What are some of your ideas? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you certainly can, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And a lot of people go that route. But again, it starts at the recruitment level, and it's trying to get the right people in the position, people that are really invested in their local community that want to stay and serve here.
Right.
Beyond that, I think we need the one thing I hear from the employees of the sheriff's office over and over again is they feel a certain amount of disconnect with the administration.
Okay.
So that's something I really want to focus on. I want our employees to feel more engaged in the agency.
Yeah.
They need to know who the boss is and respect that, but they also want to have their voices heard. And I'm willing to do that. We have a lot of talented people here, and I think if we can make the employees feel a little bit more invested in the agency, they're more likely to stay and finish their career out with us.
Wow, that's such a good game plan. I think is to kind of create. I don't know if like a family atmosphere is kind of like the right thing for a precinct, but like create that kind of camaraderie where like people feel like they're together, part of something, and not feel like you said disconnected, because that disconnect When we're longing for community and longing to serve, if we have that disconnect, what is the attachment, right? So it's not always about the money. It's about having an attachment. It's about having a sense of community. So I think if you can hone that in and you can kind of create that atmosphere, I think you'll definitely see a better retention.
And feeling that you're valued.
Yes,
you
yeah.
have to know. You have to feel a sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
So those are areas that that I'd like to work on. I think I can make some inroads.
Yeah, that's great. So last question, and then I'll let you go. What makes you stand out from the other candidates running for county sheriff?
Well, I think there's several factors, but probably the most important one is just my well-rounded background. I talked about my business background. I've talked about my law enforcement background, but I also have 10 years of labor relations experience. I was elected union officer. I represented the deputies in contract negotiations and labor management issues. What a great opportunity for me. I didn't necessarily realize it at the time, but it forced me into a position where I had to consider the administration side on a lot of issues. It's not just about fixing a problem. It's about how can I help fix this problem and still help the agency go forward, and not have it be a detriment to the agency. So that was an eye-opening experience, and I got to serve in that capacity under the current administration as well as the former administration. I also think that that skill combined with the fact that I'm working at the sheriff's office now, I'm aware of the needs and the issues. I'm familiar with the people. I truly believe I'm the logical choice of the three candidates to step into that role of sheriff.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. I also believe just talking to you that you would make a great county sheriff. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the primaries, if you live in Jefferson County, you vote in the primaries. When is it?
June 28th.
June 28th.
June 28th. And just to point out, I'm hearing a lot of confusion from the public about this primary.
Okay.
When it is, because it's been moved up this year, and people don't realize there is not a Democratic challenger.
Right.
So whoever wins the primary, in all likelihood, will win in the general election in November.
Right.
So it's a very important election, and if you're a Republican, you really should get out and cast a vote.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if you're a Republican and you're wanting to make a difference, make a change in your community, and you want to be a part and you want your voice to be heard, go vote on June 28th, and you have your decision to be made on our next county sheriff. Thank you very much, Detective Perry Golden, for joining us, and I pray that you have a good rest of your career, whatever it may be that you're doing. I sure hope that it's our county sheriff. But thank you so much, and have a great night, and good luck to you on the primaries.
Thank you so much, Nico. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Detective Perry Golden. It was fun conducting it.
Yeah. You flew solo. This is the first time you've flown solo in quite a while, huh?
Yeah, like episode 5.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a guest thing. I was supposed to be here as a guest for one episode, and somehow I get roped in to being here every week.
Yeah,
but it's been fun.
You have been promoted to co-host.
I don't know why, because I usually say something stupid on every episode. So
yeah, well, how does the pay compared to being a guest?
You know what? I think I'd rather be a guest because you have less responsibility, and still you get
paid the same.
I got paid the same for both.
Yeah.
With less responsibility. Yeah. Not like being promoted to co-host. I have to like come up with ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, rack my brain. What stupid thing did Joe Biden do this week?
Right.
It's not really that hard to rack our brains on that.
I
mean, it sounded a lot harder than it really is.
So you got a wreck?
Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, I'm not wrecking a product or anything today. I want to wreck an activity.
Okay.
And the activity I would like to wreck is family dinners. I would like to recommend that you, wherever you are, with whatever family you have, you sit down and have dinner with them. I think that far too often we get lost at dinner time watching TV or, doing our own thing or something. And I think it's really important that people sit down and they have nice family meals with one another, and they talk, and they, share memories, and they, share what's going on in their lives. And I think it's a really great bonding experience. And I also think it's really really important communication activity, keeps everybody lively and happy. And I just think if you haven't been doing that, if your family's kind of slid away from family meals, sitting down at the table, break out the duster, dust off your chairs, and have a family meal. Particularly, I think Sundays were pretty important family meals for you, were they not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Important in the sense that you always had pasta.
yeah. No, I'll say that yes. Like in the traditional sense, we didn't necessarily sit down at the table. It's actually, it wasn't until that you and I got married that we started sitting down at the table, like with your parents and stuff. And I was like, this is very weird because we never did that.
Yeah.
But what we did do was, when we usually Sundays we would eat out, and it would be with like my aunts and uncles and my cousins, and that we had like family style. So it wasn't like traditional in the house. Like every time we ate in the house, it was like we always got our meal, and then we either go to our rooms or And like Sundays, if we didn't go out, it would be like in front of the TV watching football.
I remember growing up as a kid, like we ate most of our meals together at the table. And then once my brother and I got to be teenagers, we kind of strayed away from that.
Yeah.
And once you and I married and we started eating at the table together, I remembered how much I actually enjoyed having family meals. And so like we try to stick to it. Like even if we're not having, a lot of times we'll have like dinner with my parents and stuff. But if we are not doing that, we still like to try to stick to having meals together, even if it's not at the table, but it's at the little tray. Yeah. If it's at the little tray and we're watching a Mets game and we're eating together and talking and enjoying and stuff.
Yeah. So, I think it's like it goes back to like the top of the episode, a part of like how important it is to emphasize the nuclear family and the traditional nuclear family. In the traditional in the traditional sense where you have a mom and a dad and your kids and your like it's almost like that cliche movie where like you sit down at the table and then you ask the kids how your day it was at school, and you
like
ask
a
your
Hallmark
wife
movie?
you ask your wife how it worked. Like those kinds of things are so important, because especially if you're sending your kids to public school or private school, it's important to know what's going on in their lives, because if you expect your child to come home and say, hey, my teacher told me about her sexual orientation today in school, they're not going to do that most likely. Or like, I saw this kid doing drugs or something, and like, what is this? Like, what, and you're not going to be able to instill principles in your life and your children's life effectively if you don't know what's going on in their lives. So like those kinds of stuff are important, and it all starts with having dinner at the table, and actively, like you talked about in your sermon today, actively being that father figure. If you're just allowing your children just to grow up, it goes by so much faster. I've even noticed, what our daughter's only 3 months old, I've noticed when either like if I'm like golfing a lot, or if like there's a busy time at work, like I'll look at my daughter's face one day, and then I'll look at her face like another day, and it's like, oh my gosh, your face completely changed. It's insane. So like time just slips by you if you're not actively like being attentive. Like, I mean, you change, you feed, so like you do the things you're supposed to do, but if you're not actually in the moment, it can really slip away from you. So like I feel like those kinds of things are important, and it starts with having a family meal. So that's a good rec.
Yeah, even our daughter sits at the table with us when we have family. She's 3 months old. She has her little chair, and she sits at the table with us, and we have dinner. She doesn't eat solid foods yet. She's still on the good old booby milk. But she and she will be for a while. But she gets to sit at the table with us, and she likes to smile and talk, and her little banter that she does.
She gets into it, man.
She does. Sometimes she's very loud. Much louder than you would expect a 3-month-old to be.
But it's great.
I think maybe one day she might run for some sort of office. She's very good at making speeches.
She is. She's good at going on, man.
Yeah.
She just goes on.
I could
Kinda
spend
like her mother.
a whole podcast just talking about how cool it is to be a mom to her because
Yeah.
she's like legit the best.
Yeah. So
Everybody's like, get over it, man. We all have kids.
yeah, right.
I'm like, no, but my kid.
My kid's the best.
Yeah. So what's your rec?
My
for the
rec,
week?
I can't believe we haven't talked about it,
Dun dun dun.
is Top Gun. Specifically, look at that. I'm just stretching out the small shirt.
Yeah, all you can see is two gun.
Too good. Top Gun.
Two gun or not two gun? That is the question.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
We saw it opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing really well in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great American film. Even if you're not a fan of the first one or you've never seen the first one, I as a movie buff, 100% recommend you see the first one. You will not
Yeah.
be my friend if you skip the first one and watch the second
Will
one.
not be his friend. If that's important to you.
I will be friendly to you, but you will not be my friend.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic, just American movie, and it what I really like about it is that it's not like an over the top like The Patriot kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's subtly patriotic. It's just normal,
Yeah.
if you will.
It's like everyday American patriotic.
yeah, it's
Not like Die for Your Country patriotic, but like everyday American.
right.
I mean, like it is Die for Your Country patriotic, but it's not like Die Hard,
Yeah.
Die for Your Country.
right. So,
Not referencing the movie Die Hard, but like the actual term Die Hard.
but like that's a good comparison though. It's not like over the top like Die
Right.
Hard where it's like you know like ultimate sacrifice kind of thing. It now acknowledges the hard work ethic that our military has.
Mhm.
It acknowledges that our military is second to none.
Mhm.
It's not afraid to go to those lengths
Mm-hmm.
to glorify our military and to glorify the idea of fighting for your country and defending your
Mhm.
country and the technology that we have and all that stuff. So it's and it talks a little bit about family, like you know about I don't want to go into any spoilers or anything,
Yeah,
but
so no spoilers.
yeah, but
Go watch the movie.
it
if
has
you wanna
traditional
know.
values in the movie, and it does a lot of cool callbacks to the first movie. So yeah, that's my rec. Go
I
see
enjoyed it a lot. I thought the first movie was a little corny, but that's because I had just watched it the night before we went to see Maverick. But I did think Maverick was very good. Not a huge Tom Cruise fan either, but
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done.
Yeah.
I thought it was well done. Good acting.
Yeah,
I
mean-
do like Miles Tiller, the one who plays the son.
mhm.
So I do like him.
Yeah,
I
nice.
think he's a pretty cool actor.
Yeah. So
So, everybody, hopefully we got you out of here a little early this week because it's Father's Day and we want you to go enjoy your families and we want you to enjoy your day, fathers. Once again, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a great week.
Yeah, we'll see you next
We'll
week.
see you next Sunday.